plugging in. I see a big influx of people all at once. So I like to give the latecomers just a minute or two before we get started. But during that time, how or where are you guys from? Where's everybody from? I love seeing uh, how many corners of the world we're reaching. South Africa. What time is it in South Africa? You didn't get up just for me, did you? Late. Atlanta. Well, that's where I am. I'm in Woodstock. Hey, I'll be in Colorado this weekend. This coming weekend, Kevin. Have a brother-in-law in Hawaii. Grandson was just born just north of San Diego. Well, you're right up the road from me, Skip. I go to Rope Mill Park all the time. That's where I do all my running. I'm a runner. I do obstacle course racing, so uh, great place. No, actually, there is a race in Denver not next weekend, but the following weekend. We have a product that we're going to be promoting at that race called the Colfax Marathon, and there's actually about 5, 10 different. Shut up, Connor. I'm 57. I'm a 57-year-old runner. I like that. Toronto, Orlando, excellent. Canary Islands. My sister's been to the Canary Islands. She said it was fantastic. It was beautiful. New Jersey, right next door. It's okay. Yeah, Hannah, this is going to be recorded, and obviously you um, registered to be here. So since you registered, you will definitely get a copy of the recording. All right, so let's get started. Thanks for coming, everybody. Now we've got a lot of things to go over. The first thing I want to mention to you, although we have a chat here, and I'm going to be talking, and I'm going to be covering a lot of things, and a lot of those things you're going to have questions about. Feel free to ask in the chat because we have a number of our traders are here. I see a lot of our VIPs here. A lot of people that have been trading with us for a long time like to come to these events, including Aubrey. I just noticed you were from Mississippi. Aubrey's here. A lot of people, you guys that have been trading with us for a while. Feel free to help Connor answer some of the questions that are going to pop up in the chat. Just so you know, I do not read the chat during this event. Okay, I am going to be trying to focus on what it is that I want to cover, and if I read the chat, I go off topic very easy. So I don't want to do that. So I'm going to leave it to all my helpers, all my VIPs, all the bunt traders, second brain traders, and my associate and number one son, Connor. And they will answer most of your questions. If you have a question specifically for me or something I said, please wait because at the end I'll take a couple of questions and I'll answer those questions for you at the end, okay? All right. So as we cover up the chat right now, all right, did we lose audio? Anybody else lose audio? Everybody can still hear me, right? Hannah, I have no idea if this will help you with an automated strategy or not. There's a certain logic involved in what we do here that may help you. I don't know. I think it might be worth the time spent to at least determine if it's good, information for you. Okay? Yeah, Larry's also a programmer. Larry, I think just became a VIP. Are you VIP, Larry? Just it's one of our new VIPs. Yeah, yeah. So, and Larry's a programmer, and we're working on some stuff. Yeah, try logging back in, and thank you, Murph. Uh, Bill Moo, which he actually goes by Murph, is really just call him Murph. He'll help you if you have connection issues and things like that. All right, so that's it. I'm covering the chat, and I'm going to proceed. Okay, so many of you know my story. Many of you don't. I struggled as a trader when I first got started. I was the world's worst trader, and I kept trying to get information from the internet, from every other source that I could possibly think of to tell me what it was that I needed to know to be a good trader. And I did that for 7 years. And after 7 years, like a lightning bolt hit me right square in the head, I had this realization that I was no better trader than I was the very first day I started trying to trade. So that was kind of the beginning of the end for me, or the beginning of the new beginning. So I decided at one point that I'd had it. This image pretty much sums up my 7 years of trading. Excuse me a second. Sorry. Suddenly had to do a Marco Rubio. So I had these, and this is funny because this is very similar. You see these 6 monitors this guy's sitting in front of. Looks like a lot, right? Before I finally caved in, I had 12 monitors. Yes, 12 monitors. And I had lots of information coming into the 12 monitors. Things that I thought that I needed. Okay? I had a lot of information, but I had really no knowledge about what it was that I was actually doing. Right? So I'm thinking, okay, so I'm trying to learn trading, right? And after 7 years, I'm going, okay, well, like if this line crosses that line and this number is over that one and this pattern comes before we reach a fib, but only if it's confirmed by my 5 minute and 10 minute and 1 hour and my Renko range whoop-de-doo noise canceling charts, but only on Tuesday or Thursday or that day is overcast. I had lots of stuff to think about, lots of information, but no real knowledge about what it was that I was doing and why doing that was a good idea. So picture 6 more monitors there and me hanging my head at the end of every trading day going, why do I keep doing this? So I came to this conclusion that I was just going to, first my conclusion was I should not be a trader. Because all the information that I have keeps leading me down the same path of failure. So right before I chucked everything and said, screw this, I'm never trading again, I decided I was going to just take everything I know about trading and just wipe the slates clean. And instead, I was going to do something that I knew I was really good at. My previous career was as a contractor. We did room additions and renovations and remodeling and stuff. When you are a contractor like that, your mission is to solve problems. That's what you do. You're a problem solver. So thinking through problems creates opportunities. I never approached trading that way. Okay? Now, I wasn't too sure I was going to be able to do this thinking thing as it relates to trading, but it worked for me before. I failed so much trying to learn other people's way or taking their way and trying to make it my own. This is what a lot of us have done, right? We pick up pieces of information out there on the internet. We find a trading system that's close to what we want, but not quite, so we're going to change a little bit. We're going to make it our own. None of that ever worked for me. I always got about 5% away from being successful and could never quite turn the corner. I always felt like I was close, but I couldn't turn the corner. So I decided I'd do something different. I'd try this whole thing from scratch, not taking parts of what was working for other people or what they said was working for them. So I decided, okay, so I'm gonna look at a trading chart, and I'm gonna say what's obvious to me here. What do I see here? I see that for some reason or other, price does something different. Something happened here at these points. Something caused price to stop and change directions. All right? So I want to know, why does it do that? What's causing that? And can I turn that into something? Is that something, if I can read what's going on there, is that something I can profit from, and not just profit, but profit consistently? If I could foresee anything in the market, any change in the market, could I make that a profitable endeavor or trading style? Then my question was, is money what I should really be focusing on? We all come into trading thinking about money. Money is what trading is all about. Money is in front of us all the time. Money is also the thing that makes me stupid. It makes me make bad decisions. It makes me emotional. It makes my palms sweat. It makes my heart race. It makes me do things that I wouldn't ordinarily do. So is money a good thing to base trading on? Or should I focus on something else, like consistency? Or finding when the markets move a certain direction or a certain way with a high probability of it happening, okay? So should I be focusing on money or something that happens that is a high probability that it's going to happen and it's going to happen consistently? Whether it's 1 tick or 100 ticks, I just want that high probability thing. If I could just figure out why price changes directions, even if it's just a little bit, for a short period of time. Could that be enough to do what I'm thinking I need to do? Now, I'm not really cut out for the subtle nuances and the study and the research, and nor do I have the time and the patience to do a lot of that. I'm really not. I'm not sure that I'm stupid. I mean, I'm not dumb, but I'm not really smart enough to understand a lot of things. So a lot of times I just need to be smacked in the face with almost no effort on my part. All right, I think, hold on just a second. Something happened and a whole bunch of people got kicked out of the room. I think the not the projection, but everybody's logging back in now. If you're logging back in now, something happened to Click Meeting and about half of you got kicked out. So I'm going to wait as people. I'm sorry, I apologize. This was an issue with our meeting service, and now I'm watching the number. Everybody's piling back in. So I'm going to wait for just a second. Kind of brought it to my attention that all of a sudden we had about half the attendees that we had to begin with. I'm going to go ahead and move. I cover the chat with another window so I don't see it. Yeah, I still see people logging in. Please, if you give me just a second. People are logging in fast and furious. Hey, and also while we're doing that, JP, if this isn't moving along fast enough for you, I suggest just watch the video, and you can scroll through the parts that you think are unimportant for you. There are a lot of people that find this information very helpful and important to understand where this whole system came from and how we came up, and that's the whole point of this. We also have events where we just go right to the meat of training people how to trade our system. This is not one of those events. So JP, if this is not for you, if getting a little bit of background information on what you should be doing and why we're doing what we're doing is not for you, then by all means watch this back on video. And then you can go through this quickly. I know a lot of people just want to know, tell me when to push the button. I just need to know when to push the button. I don't need any of this other information. And you might be one of those people. So I see people have started to slow down, and we'll get back to it. All right, so let's look at this. Let's study this. Now, we see here that something has happened, okay? This has my attention, okay? This is what I started looking at. I started seeing this happening a lot. What I see is that price is channeling, and then we have a sudden drop, okay? Where price has dropped out of this channeling. Now, for me, that's a smack in the face. That's one of those smack in the faces that you just can't ignore. That something just happened in the market, okay? Subtleties and nuances, lines crossing, lots of shades of gray. That never worked for me. I need something more obvious. This is obvious, okay? So I've identified an area of interest to me, something that I want to pursue. Now it's time to try to find the conditions that exist at that exact moment that might influence price to change directions quickly. So I wonder if the bounces or reversals are happening maybe around areas of support and resistance. My first place to look is to see if price reacted to some area of support and resistance. This was the very first pullback trade I ever took. Okay, so which support and resistance? I'm all over the place out there looking for the best support and resistance lines. And then it occurred to me, you know, the best support and resistance lines are the ones that most people are looking at. What gives support and resistance value? What makes support and resistance work? The belief that they work. They are self-fulfilling prophecies. I noticed something very tradable. When price approaches a line that has not been touched in a very long time or at all during this trading session, price is likely to react to it. There's a big aha. That's the basis and the beginnings of an entire trading system from which to make a regular income. Knowing that when price approaches at a steep angle very quickly an area of support or resistance, price is likely going to bounce. Here's a quick video. We're watching as price, notice the hard drop here. Price is dropping hard. It's coming out of this area of consolidation and it's dropping hard and fast. So what's going to happen? Price is going to eventually start to get exhausted. Well, it's obviously going to get exhausted around these lines or areas of strong support or resistance, okay? And price is very likely going to react to that line. I moved this ahead to show you that it's very common for price to come down, bounce off a line that it has not hit, and then once it's been there, break through and then channel along it, or basically not pay any attention to it at all. These lines are our indicators called our FT reset. FT stands for first touch. First touch in a very long time. I want to back this up a little bit. Look at this number up here. This is our relative strength number. See, that says 143 way up here. Relative strength. That tells us to anticipate, if this number is high, anything over 120 I think is a pretty high number. This tells us to expect that if price approaches this line at a very steep rate, either straight down, straight up, when it hits that line, there's a high probability price is going to react to that line, which is exactly what happened here. Now, let me stop. Oh, let me back up a hair. By the way, we're talking about an indicator here called the FT reset, right? Or first touch reset. Notice down here, I'm sorry, that thing keeps popping up. Down at the bottom, there's no number. There's no relative strength number. That means during this trading session, that's as strong as that line can be expected to be. Because it hasn't been approached at all today during this trading session. The very first time that line has been touched, it will then generate a number. It could be 0 because it's been 0 minutes since that line was touched. So if you see a price approaching a line with no number on it, and it's approaching really strong like this, you can expect price to react to that line. I'm not saying it's going to happen for sure. There is anything for sure in trading? No. There's a high probability price is going to react to that line. So we've got a couple of different numbers here. I'll look at these up here. If you're not staring at this line when price hits it, you're not going to know what this number was. So the way we have this work is if you're looking away at something else, at another chart, and you look back and this says 0, you can look over here. The number that was here will move over here. We have an entire video on how this works. But these are relative strength numbers. The higher the number, the more likely price is going to react to that line. That was big for me. That was my first attempt at trading those bounces, those pullbacks. All of these lines in the FT reset have individual parameter settings that you can set. They all have this up in here, okay? So you can create different colors for different lines. This would be the pivot point line. You could create a different color. You can create a different style, type of line, how big the line is. You know, you can edit all of these lines. We also had mid pivots between our pivots, okay? Everybody knows these regular pivots. These are floor trader pivots that we use in our trade room. Yet if you look over here, you'll notice we have the ability to change those pivots. Where am I? You can either put in your own parameters for pivots, or you could change the pivot formula. We're using floor trader pivots, but there's lots of different formulas for calculating pivots. If you have pivots you like to use those. Okay? So these are all the parameters. You can take a screenshot or just watch this on video, and you'll get a good idea on everything that you can do inside of this particular indicator and how it can be used. Not just for what we do in our trade room, which was previously called bunt trading. It's called second brain trading, and we'll tell you more about that later. These lines, these pivots, are fantastic for all types of trading systems, okay? And give you a lot of ability to tune and customize them for how you trade, okay? So now I've got some really strong lines. And I can anticipate if we get a hard push into a line that's been a long time since it's been touched or crossed, I can start to anticipate that we might get a little bit of a pullback, which is going to give us a little bit of an edge. I began taking these trades with a good bit of success. So much success that I thought, I've got something here. I'm seeing success that I never saw before. And the success that I was seeing was that I had the ability to anticipate what price is going to do next right now. Not 5 minutes from now, 10 minutes from now, an hour from now, tomorrow, next week. No, I have the ability to anticipate something right now. And if I do that, I have an edge. All right? But do they always work? No. Of course not. Nothing always works. So how could I go about finding when these lines were likely to work the best? So I continued my research. And I thought, you know what? You'll notice oftentimes, just before price slams into one of these lines, I notice that this bar that slams into the line is longer than a lot, not all of them necessarily, but most of the previous bars. Well, what's going on inside that bar that causes it to be a long bar? So I thought, well, I'm going to start checking order flow. I'm going to start seeing how the orders are coming into this bar. And maybe there's something going on inside this bar that if I knew ahead of time, that's going to give me an edge. That became what we now know as the speed tick indicator. That study became the speed tick indicator. So what I looked at was the rate that orders were being processed. I started to notice that there was a big difference between when those big bars were being produced versus the regular bars. Those big bars seeing these numbers changing. Okay, I'm sorry. It looks like our trading room host is having problems. Yeah, everybody got thrown out that time. Thank you for coming back. Yeah, you know, any meeting or click meeting, click meeting is our go-to, tried and true, been using it for many, many years. And it is 95% perfect. We use it all day long, every day for years. We use it in our trade room, we use it for meetings, we use it for our VIP meetings, we use it all the time. And it is all, yeah, exactly. It is almost, yeah, I stopped there, Herman. I saw that everybody got kicked out all at once. We had a few hundred people in here and all of a sudden nobody. So hopefully we got people logging back in. I see a whole lot of people logging back in, and I appreciate you guys coming back. I hate that this happened, and I'm sorry. Apparently the server or something is having issues at Click Meeting. It doesn't happen often, but it can happen. Jenny, yes. So far, everything I've talked about works on all time frames. Now, in order for us to start to zero in on, and I'm for those of you that are waiting, this is not part of the presentation. I'm just going to answer a couple of questions. I'm just going to answer a couple of questions while we're waiting on people to log back in. So yeah, it works on all time frames, but as we get into more and more detail, trying to really zone in on the best places for us to trade, you're going to notice that we're going to start looking at faster and faster time frames. Herman, we used to develop for TradeStation, but it is such a pathetically horrible platform, we stopped. I just could not keep up with the way that TradeStation was supported, the way they come up with updates, the way it was causing me tremendous headaches and nightmares to try to continue to develop for TradeStation. So we stopped, and we are only developing currently for NinjaTrader. Yeah, NinjaTrader. Exactly. You got right to the point. Significant levels watched by the majority can also be easily manipulated. Perfectly said. All right, so I see a number of people didn't log back in, but hopefully they're just going to wait for the video, and we're going to move forward. So collectively, even collectively, us retail traders cannot process the number of orders that are being processed by the big boys. Okay, so when the big boys start processing the orders, the big boys, the market manipulators, the HFTs, the hedge funds, the quants, those guys that have all the money and all the power, when they have the ability to manipulate the markets, they do it in such a way that they put orders through the market, and they try to hide these orders being put through the market. They want to do it on relatively low volume, but sometimes it requires a larger volume. But they're going to process orders much faster than us little guys can do. I mean, we can only do what we can do, right? Bunch of little guys that are just sitting there tapping away on our computers. Hold on just a second. We're just tapping away on our computers, and we're not able to do what they can do. We're not able to move the markets the way that the big boys can. Okay, so it's highly unlikely that retail traders are doing it. You and me, us little guys. It's very likely that it's the supercomputers. So what do? I say, so how do I figure this out? What I'm going to do, and what I did, was I decided to start watching time and sales. Well, if you ever actually watched a time and sales window, you may have, in about 2 minutes, fallen just completely asleep or gotten hypnotized. But there's a lot of interesting information going on inside of this time and sales window. And I thought, well, how can I harness that to understand where these market manipulators are doing their thing? Now, they're coming in at a certain rate. They're coming in faster and faster. When they're coming in at a certain rate, that means that they are manipulating price, and they're doing it for some specific reason. They don't go out there and manipulate price just because. Well, I can do that, so I'm going to do it. No, they don't do that. They do it to create a reaction, right? So I started collecting this order flow data and created this histogram that is essentially like a speedometer that I apply to each bar, okay? And I take that data and I extrapolate it over a variable time period, and that resulted in a measurable threshold level that could tell me that when price exceeded a certain limit, it's almost impossible that that happened because of us retail traders. It had to be because of some mechanical influence. That was a big piece of information for me. What you're looking at here is the NinjaTrader 7 version of that histogram and our speed tick indicators. Okay? The thing about the NinjaTrader 7 version, which we traded for many years, we did great with, but it required that we adjust for each chart type and each instrument type for anything for NinjaTrader 7. For NinjaTrader 8, it's now self-adjusting. No adjustments are required. You're still capable of adjusting it, but no adjustments are required. So what we're looking at is we've actually developed several different threshold levels inside the indicator so that you could tell if it's likely a market manipulation, or does it go beyond that? Does the speed actually go beyond what is likely to be a manipulation? For example, news events. We will notice, like oil inventories today, that things just go absolutely nuts, and they go way outside of, the rates go way outside of what is likely to be a manipulation because of these news events. So we have these different threshold levels so that we can measure what is likely a market manipulation that we little guys, us individual traders, can take advantage of. And now it's self-adjusting for any market, any instrument, any type of chart that you want to put it on. Okay, so there was a good bit of work involved on NinjaTrader 7. Now you just throw it on and it'll do its job. Okay, so here's a speed tick in action. Okay, so we see that trades are coming in likely too fast for them to be retail traders. It's most likely a mechanical manipulation. When we see that, we're going to put a speed tick on the chart. Now you notice the speed tick moves with the bar. That means nothing. The speed tick is actually gathering information from an underlying speed a tick chart. Okay, so it moves along with the bar. I don't care where it prints on the bar. It could print way down there on the tail. It could print in the middle. I don't care. As that bar has a speed tick on it, that tells me there's a high probability that bar has been manipulated. And you got to ask yourself, why has that bar been manipulated? Because they want to create a reaction. That's the whole point. So let's watch this again. And this time, you'll see that there's crazy fast activity going on in the time and sales. This is what we're measuring. This is what we're seeing. I'm not counting volume. I'm counting speed of the rate that the orders are being processed through the market. Totally different than counting volume, because these guys can do this on particularly low volume. They don't need high volume for this. Although it often comes with high volume, it's not required. Okay? So we have the ability to tune the parameters of the speed tick. You'll notice here it says signal mode, adaptive. That means you just put it on a chart and use it. There are a lot of people for many years have been using the NinjaTrader 7 version and they like tuning it themselves. So we give you that ability. You can change it from adaptive to the original version and change all of these parameters. Okay. So there's a lot of you can throw it on and use it how you want to, but it also gives you the ability still to tune that information. Okay. Now here's a happy accident. Oh, I forgot to put this on the other slide. We won the Star Awards at Trader Planet for our indicators and our trade room, and we don't talk about it enough, but it's a pretty big deal. That we didn't even know we were in the running. Somebody nominated us, and then enough people voted for us that we ended up winning a couple of awards that we had no idea. Well, Connor found it like 6 months after we won it. Nobody told us. So anyway, a happy accident. We noticed that when price may not reach these particular levels that tell us that it's a manipulation, but price does accelerate at a certain rate, at a rate way beyond what the other bars were doing. We have a sudden acceleration, right? I just had to use that because price just takes off all of a sudden. When that happens, it's highly likely that it's going to change directions. Okay? May not be for a long time, but we don't need it to be for a long time. We're only looking for an edge where price is highly likely to change directions. So I'm looking at these bars just before a bounce, and I'm thinking, how many things can I measure inside of a bar? What else is there inside that bar just before the bounce that might give me a heads up that I have a high probability of knowing what's going to happen next? That's all you need in trading, folks. You only need a high probability of what's likely to happen next, not what's likely to happen 5 minutes from now, what's likely to happen 10 minutes, 15, an hour, tomorrow. That's not an edge. You only need an edge to understand what's likely to happen next. That can be turned into something really special. Okay? So I started looking, and then I started thinking, I'm going to start trying to understand what's going on inside that bar. That study, after 6 months of that study, I got a lot of information, and I did a webinar on applied volume spread analysis. If you go to YouTube and you type in applied volume spread analysis or just volume spread analysis, we're the #1 video to explain what's going on inside of a bar, okay, and how important that is, okay? So let me tell you quickly. Essentially, I see a lot of buyers and I see a lot of sellers in the markets. Are all of those people, all of that stuff, important to me as a buyer or seller? I see a lot of them. They're there. But which one of those are going to influence what I do? So let's quickly an understanding of volume spread analysis and what I'm going to talk about next is kind of important. It's a technical study, and this is the definition, okay? It's a technical study which uses price spread, price close, and volume to predict trend reversals, or what I keep saying is what price is going to do next. The main goal is to spot when periods or a trend is predisposed to a change caused by changes in supply and demand, with further confirmation of the price trend reversal points. Okay, or let's make it real simple. Remember, I'm a slap in the face guy. I'm not all that smart. None of that makes any sense to me. But the relationship between price action and volume, well, that is a little easier to understand. And that's exactly what volume spread analysis does. It measures the relationship between price action and volume. When you go to that video on YouTube about volume spread analysis that we did, it's got 85,000 viewers, but we have another of the same video. I don't know why we have two different videos of the same thing on there, but one has 5,000, the other has 85,000 views. All right. Here is an oversimplified view of how these market manipulations work. And it's important to understand this, to understand what's going on during our measurement or using volume spread analysis to measure what's going on. Okay? This is a typical market manipulation. There's lots of ways to manipulate the trading markets. This is very typical. I'm going to shorten this by a lot. This is going to be 2 minutes worth of an hour webinar, okay? You got areas of accumulation. This is when the market makers are buying up in as slowly and quietly as they can. They're going to buy up as much of the available asset as they can and hopefully corner the market. Once they've cornered the market, they have the ability to stop making sales, to pull back on that. And when there's no available asset for other people to buy, what does that happen? What happens? What does that cause? That causes a shortage or lack of supply or higher demand. Okay, so what happens when that happens? In the real world, that causes price to go up. So then they'll do it again, and then that cause price to go up. Well, now they've acquired all their assets down here. They're going to start selling. And they're going to do it just like they did here, quietly, without a lot of fanfare. Try not to do it with a lot of volume, so you and I think nothing's going on. Oh, the markets are boring today. There's nothing happening. I have nothing to do. There's no interest here. But in truth, these guys that bought down here are selling most of their assets here, so they're making all their profits here. All right, so then they stop. They've made their money. They've stopped selling. They stop, and now they're like, people want to buy. And like, wait, there's nothing to buy. Well, that makes it more valuable. So that's going to run it up and up and up. And suddenly, these guys, these market makers say, okay, I still own the majority of the assets available. I'm just going to dump them on the market right here. I'm going to dump them all, and I'm going to overwhelm the demand with all the supply. Bam. That's what happens. They do it all the time. So I start looking at this, and I start saying, okay, well, I'm noticing these up thrust or down thrust bars followed by a slight pullback. I showed you that on the other slides, right? And it happens every single time without fail. So what I want to know is what's happening inside these bars. And that's where the pullback alert came from. That's our pullback alert indicator. Now, if you go and you look on the internet, and I want you to go and try to find other volume spread analysis trading systems. There are entire systems based on volume spread analysis, and they expect you to trade that whole system based on that. It's one component of what we do, but you can still use this for any type of trading that you want to do. It gives you a heads up on what's going on inside the current bar. Okay? So if we look inside, we'll notice that these long bars often generate, but it doesn't have to be a long bar. It often generates these pullback alerts. Each one of these, we have different threshold levels that we're measuring. Okay? What the pullback alert is doing is we're reading every single bar. We're reading the volume, how it comes into the bar. And by looking at that volume, we're finding underlying strengths in a downtrend and weaknesses in an uptrend. That's the point. That's the whole key to what we're doing. Okay, and we can, and here's the simple version. Okay, got two candlesticks here, side by side. If you looked at a static trading chart, meaning there's no data coming to it, these are previous bars, you just look at it and you go, okay, well, there's a bar. So what do I know about this bar? Well, I can tell you by looking at this bar what the open was, what the high was, what the low was, and what the close was of that bar. What else can I tell you from that bar? I don't know, that it closed higher than it opened. Is that all the information that bar has? Let's look. Bars are generated by ticks or orders. This particular bar had, it opened and then it dropped, and then it went up, and then it went down. And nothing really dramatic or exciting happened inside that bar. So we call that a no churn bar. Or we've got a bar that opened and it dropped and it went up and then it dropped hard and then it went back up and then it went straight up. And then it dropped again and then it went back up and we've got some churning here. We've got buyers and sellers extremely interested at the same level. We've got a lot of buying and selling going on. This is a churn bar. This is telling us that even though the buyers were well in charge of this bar, over the majority of this bar, the sellers at a certain range, at a certain price level, who were just sitting and waiting, got very interested. And now they're fighting with the buyers. This is a churn bar. This is everything buy-in spread analysis is about. Okay? So what happens is price gets exhausted and turns. So we look here, we see the sellers are in control. As price drops, sellers are in control. Suddenly the buyers have entered. Look what's happening with the bar. If you look at a static bar, you'll never see this. You have to look at it and as a moving bar, and the sellers start taking control. All right? We could foresee that. We could foresee that the sellers took control here because they started to do it here. Okay? All right. So that's what we have to show you for today for the indicators that we wanted to show you today. Tomorrow we're going to do another little short presentation at the beginning to help you understand how we came up with all of this stuff and why it works so well. We're going to talk about the Super D, which includes our flash indicator and our McDiver. These are divergence indicators. We're going to talk about our Obos indicator, and we're going to talk about our Rockstar. Very important to all of these indicators is the fact that exhaustion is extremely important, is understanding and anticipating when price has become exhausted. If you can add that into everything I showed you today, you have the makings of an extremely powerful and simple trading system. Okay? So for those of you that came and suffered through this with us today, I'm really sorry about the problems with the click meeting. We never know. You know, we're at the mercy of technology. We're going to offer you these special prices. We have some brand new bundles. You're the first. Right now, you're the first to see these. Okay? And Connor will put in a link to, well, he already did. Okay, so I just uncovered the chat. So we have 3 different packages. This is an all-new website that you're going to go to right here. We're just testing it out. We're still considering it beta. After this event, there's a good chance that prices are going to go up because we're still just kind of getting our feet wet here. We've got several different bundles, but we're offering you a special price on 3 of them. Has a lot of the indicators we use for our in our trade room. This is our Smart Start bundle. It's normally $9.23. For you guys today, we're going to do it for $6.96. We have even more of our trade room indicators, including some time in the trade room. Our regular price is $27.32. We're going to do it for $19.89 today. Then we have what we used to call our VIP program. Now we're calling it the Einstein. This is our one and done. You don't ever have to buy anything else again program. Every indicator we ever develop, every system we ever develop, anything that we use in the trade room, you just get it for free. Our VIPs just got this Naked Rock Zone, our Naked Rockstar Zone indicator for free. They've gotten the EAS for free. You'll learn more about this soon. This is the essential add-on suite for NinjaTrader 8. The market replay data downloader for free, weekly mentoring sessions, all of that. That's only $46.99. So we're giving you a really good discount today for those of you that suffered through with us. This discount is actually going to go through next Wednesday. Tomorrow we're going to go over this again, and we're going to continue on with the talking about the indicators and why they do what they do, and why it's important that you combine them together to give you a signal that has a high probability of doing what you expect it to do right now. Okay? All right. I'm going to take just a couple of minutes. I'll answer 1 or 2 questions if you have any. I assume that a lot of you have, a lot of questions have already been answered. I see Jed. Yes, tick charts work fine, particularly faster tick charts. We trade from, the trade room hours is open from 9 a.m. to noon Eastern time, Eastern U.S. time. I would not have expected you to offer what you showed us in the first bundle. I don't know what that means, James. I don't have anything on this computer. This is not a trading computer, Gord. What we're looking at here is not, I don't do any trading on this computer. So I can't pull up charts and stuff for you. But what we can do is send us a support request at support@theintentionaltrader.com, and we'll email it to you. Yes, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. All right, we're going to do this again, but we're going to expand on it. You did not read it right. Reverse. I would have expected to see what you showed us in your first bundle. Oh, well, I'm only, yeah, I know. Connor and I talked about that. These bundles were created a long time ago, though. And I'm showing you what I'm showing you, James, because it's a It's a process of how they were developed to help you understand how they were developed. After tomorrow, you'll understand this special better. Okay? So we're actually giving you the special a day early. After tomorrow, it'll make more sense to you. You noticed that, did you, Bob? Yeah, we had a lot of meetings here in the background about the Rockstar and how everybody wants the Rockstar and that it pretty much has to be in every bundle. Well, thank you. I appreciate that, James, and I hope JP found it interesting as well, even though he was a little anxious. Not all of them, Dave. The Rockstar, Naked Rockstar Zone do not work in NinjaTrader 7. We are taking advantage of a lot of the power and the new things that are offered inside of NinjaTrader 8 that are not offered in NinjaTrader 7. So we can't develop some of the more powerful indicators, some of the Rockstar, which has fast become the most popular indicator we've ever introduced. Which is the really funny part of that is I didn't think we really needed to, because we have other indicators that do the same thing. But basically, I've combined these other indicators into one, and everybody's like, yes, this is what we've been waiting for. I'm like, well, dumb me. I wish somebody had told me earlier. Good. I'm glad you did, JP. Thank you, Bob. Bob's been with us a long time. Bob has been very helpful, and Bob, just so you know, and I give Bob lots of credit for this. For years, I tried to figure out how to make the speed tick adaptable in NinjaTrader 7, and I couldn't do it. And Bob had this idea on how we could do it, and I kept trying to do it in NinjaTrader 7 and couldn't make it work. But it was his idea, and then finally we started developing for NinjaTrader 8, and I thought, that Bob guy, he had an idea. I wonder if it'll work in NinjaTrader 8, and it worked, and it's been awesome. And I really appreciate Bob for his input and his help on helping me develop that. He didn't actually help. He just sent me his ideas, and I thought, hey, that's not stupid. I'll try that. Tomorrow, Peter, we'll be showing the Rockstar a lot tomorrow. Futures. Bruce, we trade futures. Yes, Eastern time. U.S. Eastern time, 9 a.m. to 12. Excellent. All right, well, I'll take more time tomorrow to answer more questions. If you're here today, James, use the same link. If you're here today, of course you're here. Use the same link tomorrow. You don't need to register tomorrow. Same time tomorrow, yes? Same time. And if anybody has any questions, if you're watching this on video and you have any questions, you've got Connor's email address on every slide, or support@theintentionaltrader.com. Well, thanks for coming, everybody. I'm sorry about the technical problems. And I enjoy meeting and talking to all of you, and hopefully we'll get a chance to do it again tomorrow, or even in our trade room. All right, everybody, have a great evening, and we'll see you all soon.